Hi everyone. What we're going to do today is attempt to do our top 10 lists for the year. We decided that as an author chat team, you might want to know what our top 10 lists of the year are.
Yeah, good luck at saying whether you got the same as us or different.
Yes, and they are all remarkably different. So we're gonna share them with you from 10 to 1. With the odd honourable mention as well, because I don't know about you guys, but I found it so hard to do. Like, I've got a top 20 list of books, and narrowing it down was really hard. Like, I've read so many good books this year.
Yeah, with 87 books to choose from, and the books I've read this year, it's very hard to come up with the top 10.
Oh, yeah, I didn't have a book count. I don't know how many I've read. I think it's got to be around the 100 mark.
It took 4 days to narrow it down. Let's put it that way.
I'm still working on mine. It's mine changed a couple of days ago. I've read 346.
Shall I tell you how I did mine? I literally sat one day last week and just wrote 10 books down, and that list hasn't changed.
Well, that is yeah.
That is quite. I mean, I'm not going to hold it up and show it because that gives the game away. But yeah, it's in front of me, and all I changed was I wrote 10 down, and when I looked and counted, I thought, right, I've got 10 there, I've got them in order, and it's not changed.
I went through my Goodreads list and wrote down everything that had got like 5 stars or really jumped out at me, like when I looked at my list and went, oh, I really like that book. And I made a massive long list and then went and tried to make a top 10 from there.
Okay, maybe for next year we should do a long list.
Yeah, so I had a long list. I can't find it. I think I ripped it out when I was making one of the variants of my top 10. But I had about 25 books on it, and then I tried to narrow it down to 10.
Wow.
Well, I've tried to include as many different genres in my top 10.
I've only read crime this year. I've not had time to read all the crime I wanted.
Yeah.
I think Alex has gone for different genres of crime. I think I'm the only one who's got 2 books that aren't crime.
Yeah, I would love to have the time to read some non-crime, but we've been busy this year, and we'll be just as busy next year. And we're going to enjoy bringing new people to you too.
We are, yeah. My list has changed because of so many. Like, there are books on here I've only read because of author chats.
Yeah, all of mine was from people I wanted to interview, and there's only one person actually who's on the list that I haven't interviewed yet, but I'll get him at some point. There's a little clue, somebody on my list.
So shall we start with our number 10s?
Yeah.
Yeah? So number 10 for Alex is
Gallows Lane by You're gonna have to edit this out. Okay. No, you're not joking.
So Gallows Tree, Kate London.
Yeah, Kate London. That was because it's way back in March, guys, and March is a long time ago. That was that was the only book in the list that was joining the interview team, actually. Every other one has been post the team, joining the team.
So your 10's Gallows Tree Lane by Kate London.
Yeah.
Sam, your number 10 is?
Remember Me by Amy McClellan. I hounded Amy McClellan and got her to come for an interview with me. I loved the book so much.
And
that is my number 10.
My number 10 is Little Miss Evil by Jim Odie.
What was it about the book to put it at number 10?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that, Alex. Why have you put Gallows Tree Lane number 10?
It was because of the different way that she looked at gangs and crime within that book. Because I didn't know who to feel more empathy for, whether it was the villains in the book or the police in the book. And that's a sign of good writing if you don't know who to feel empathy for.
It's a sign of well-developed characters as well, isn't it? If you feel for the villains.
Yeah, if you can feel for the villains, the writer's done a good job.
Right, Sam, why Remember Me?
So the main character suffers from face blindness. Now the actual my doorbell's going. The actual name for it is something beginning with P that escapes me. It's quite a serious book as well, and here's me giggling my way through it as usual. There was something so exciting about it. So now Dave's just come in and dumped something out of a parcel onto the table. Thanks, darling. We are recording at the moment.
It's fine. We're recording. But not...
Okay, so Amy McClellan, remember me, the main character suffers from face blindness, so she cannot recognise people by their faces. So she looks for different mannerisms from people, and her sister has to wear certain really ugly cardigans and things so that she can find her in a crowd. And something really horrific happens to them as a family, and it's so well woven together, you really don't know who and what is going on until it comes to a conclusion at the end. You question everything, you question everyone. It's so well done, and as I say, I hounded Amy, into an interview. So I'm looking forward to reading the next one. Kaz, why did you enjoy your number 10? And Jim?
Yeah. I don't know if enjoy is the right word for it. Little Miss Evil is, I've read Jim Odie's books since the very first one, and this one I think is where he's really found his feet as an author and produced something that is, I don't know how to explain it. It's like every horror movie that you can think of. And it's like gruesome in places, and it's creepy in just the right amount. And you want to sort of find out what happens. I read it in about a day.
With a horror-based book, you want to cringe, don't you? That's the point of it.
You do cringe, and it's inventively cringy as well. So that's, I think that's what makes it so good. Like, if you like a bit of gore in your book, you like something creepy with a little sort of hints of like paranormal stuff in it, then this is the book for you. It's a really, really, really good read. And it got 5 stars from me, so it had to make the top 10.
Yeah. When you two are reading books, do you like your characters to go through up and downs, or do you like to be able to the story to flow, and like you need to feel that the characters have gone through something when you're reading a book?
I don't know that I need to feel that they've gone through something. I just like to feel that the characters are really well developed.
Yeah.
And interesting. And I like sort of little nods. So Jim is really good at making little nods to music. He makes little nods to his own books in them. So quite often one of the characters is reading one of his other books. And they sort of have like a little self-deprecating humor as well. So they'll be reading one of his other books, but they'll be like, oh, it's terrible. And things, and it's like finding those little bits in them, I think, makes it really stand out.
Yeah, I mean, humour was why my number 9 was in there, because the Queen McDonald's The Final Game was just hilarious. That's my number 9. So what was your number 9 then, Sam?
My number 9 is The Body Politic by Susan Handler. It's another. I read the book just before we organised an interview, and it was terrific. It starts off with a really unusual scene that throws you right into the thick of things, and slowly unravels with more and more things being revealed, and it's really clever, really clever. How about you, Kaz?
So my number 9 is Gallows Court by Martin Edwards, who I discovered when he did the Cumbrian panel at our first book festival. And he talks about writing like Golden Age crime and Main Hall. And I went back and read Gallows Court first. And Gallows Court is my favourite one of the two, because it's sort of, it's brilliant. And Rachel Savinake's main character in it is
absolutely, she's brilliant.
Phenomenal, isn't she? She's really good.
Yeah. Because I interviewed Martin Edwards on your dad's recommendation, and he's also helped me out with my book, so very useful. And also a very nice man, and Rachel Samanek was such a unique character as well, I thought.
Yeah, she really is. Why have you got the final game on yours apart from the humour?
It's mainly because of how well they developed the series is, because it's the latest it's this most recent written one. But I've read 3 this year, and it had to be that one. One of Sam's on the list later is also on one of the ones I read. So you can see why he's that good. If 2 of us have got him on the list somewhere. They are different books, people, not the same book.
Yeah.
Susan Handley as well. I really like Susan Handley's writing, but
I do. Kat Mackenzie is a fantastic character.
So what about the body politics made it stand out then over the others?
It was really different. The way it was written and the flow of it, and just the opening scene was quite I'm not going to say what it is, but it grabs you straight away. Really, really interesting how different things, I'm going to use the phrase woven together again, but it really is so well written. I've actually got another book that I've been given as an advanced copy to have a look at, and I can't wait to get into that. How about you, Kaz?
About Gallows Court? It's just, apart from the character, so Rachel is a brilliant character, I like kind of the world that he evokes. In Gallows Court, you're just transported into this kind of golden age era novel, and it's just so well done. And if you follow it through and then read Mortmain Hall, he like shows you like how he's written. So like he hides clues in the books, and he'll tell you about how he's hidden the clues to make you like work out what the ending is and things like that. It's so well written. It's one of those where you appreciate the writing quality as well as the story.
Yeah, he's got the clues at the end, apparently, hasn't he? Because on the audiobook, they're not there, unfortunately. But,
the clues are at the end of Mortmain Hall. I don't think they're at the end of Gallows Court, but
yeah,
they're both well worth reading.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Mortmain Hall, I must admit. It was very different. It's more of a period novel than you'd think, to be honest. And a lot of the books I've read this year, there must be about 10 different historical ones, which is important for my list later, but I'm not going to tell you what that is yet.
Yeah, I like a good historical novel. So number 8, I'm going to go last because my my book title and choice needs a bit of explaining because it's got a crazy title. So number 8, Sam.
Catherine, yeah, The Lie She Told.
It's another one I've read as well because I actually interviewed Catherine in Sam's place.
I was so poor, so it was really fun sending you my questions and watching you squirm.
I know, and I'm going to get my own back. Definitely.
Alex,
I'm sure in the future there'll be one of those days when I've read something on audio and I have to send you all the questions and you have to do it. That'd be interesting.
Who's your number 8, Alex?
My number 8. I'm gonna have to try and remember the list again.
I've got it if you need it.
Yes, please. Sorry.
It's Little White Lies by Philippa East.
Little White Lies by Philippa East. This was one of my 3 debuts this year. It was so different as a debut because of the subject matter it covered. It was written from the point of view of 2 characters, which is really important on audio because you can get 2 different narrators sometimes because of how it's narrated. And basically, it's told from the point of view of a girl that was kidnapped, and then her family after she gets comes home from being kidnapped, and the emotional elements of the book keep you in flow, and because it keeps switching perspectives again, it allows you to carry on reading the book for longer than you normally would. So yeah, that's why I chose it.
So I had a trip to Lincoln this year, because it's meant to be my hometown, and I've never been. And I bought myself a copy of Little White Lies there because they were having it as a local author, and it's been signed, and I've not read it yet. But from that description, I might have to.
Yeah, it's definitely
up the list.
It's definitely one of those, and she's also already written a second, and is in the case of writing a third at the moment. So I know that I'm looking forward to reading the second when it comes out.
Some Lies She Told.
Oh, Kate's a great character by Catherine. Remote village, mystery, somebody running away from something. I mean, what is not to love about that book? So good.
And another debut author, isn't it?
Yeah.
This year.
Yeah, and she's great. I look forward to. I think I'm going to love everything that Catherine writes. I'm a bit nervous about the interview that we'll have next time with book 2 being set in a BDM club, but or featuring one. So let's see what Kaz does with these questions when we interview Catherine. But yeah,
I shall have my revenge.
You shall. But I loved the characters and the setting and the story and the lies she told. It's I know you weren't keen on the title, but for me, I thought it was a good title.
I felt like the title gave it away a little bit, and it didn't. It's the only thing that stopped me giving it 5 stars.
Really?
Weirdly, yeah. Wow. I went 4 because I really enjoyed it, and it was a really good read. But I kind of guessed what was going to happen from the beginning with the title.
You do know that it is going to be something based on that, but the lie itself is still quite and I think when you come across it.
Yeah, for me that was the only bit that let it down a little bit. So like it spoiled my enjoyment slightly, so it bumped down the list of star ratings slightly, but it was really good. And it was still like, I think I gave it like 4.5 stars. I didn't knock much off.
Which is still high for you.
Yeah, which is still high for me. It was a really good read. Not saying it's not good. Definitely.
For me, titles are a really important element of why I choose my books, because I don't read synopsises on the back. Because I know that if I'm going to interview the person, I don't want to give it away when I'm reading the book, so that I can work out what I'm. Because sometimes synopsises tell you too much about the book, and you feel like you've read the book before you've read the book.
Yeah.
Well, title being important is a good way into my number 8. Because my number 8 is a manga and a novel. So it does exist as what they call a light novel from like Japan, and it's called Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai.
Yeah, that's a mouthful.
Which is a mouthful, and makes you think that it will be. I haven't got the book, I couldn't find it to show people the cover, but I will put the cover on the thing. The cover and the title give you an impression of what it's going to be, and then the book isn't that at all. It's just this beautiful, like, melancholic story about someone who becomes invisible and only one person can see her because she just has no friends and doesn't interact with people. And he kind of has to save her from just disappearing from life entirely. And it's like it's sad. It's a really sad story, but it's also a really sweet story.
If I'm right in saying, is that your first non-crime book of the list?
It's my first non-crime book of the list, and there are only 2 non-crime books on the list, which is really unusual for me because I tend to read a lot of non-crime as well. But just with the author chats, I've read a lot of crime. this year, but I couldn't not put it on because it was one of those where it stayed with you, and you just, when you read a book and it stays with you and you think about it a long time after you've read it, it needs to be on your top 10 list.
Yeah.
I must admit, as a prospective writer, I need to read more outside the genre, really, to learn the style. But I think crime's become my universe. I don't really read outside of it. I know I should, but I don't.
Well, if you ever want to veer into manga, that's a good recommendation. So number 7, again, is really different from all of us. Number 7 for each of us. What's your number 7, Alex?
I believe that's Keir Abdullah, Take It Back.
Yeah, which is a novel that was on my long list.
Yeah, and I chose that one out of the 2 books she's written because both books are about the same subject. I thought this one meant more to me because it involved more about our family, and there was also a personal element of disability and things, whereas the second book, although I enjoyed it, it didn't really resonate with me as much.
Fair enough. Yeah. Sam, your number 7?
Oh, Sheila Bugler, I Could Be You.
Why is Sheila at number 7 for you?
There were so many things that surprised me in it. And again, brilliant characters. The location worked as almost as a character itself. Some real shocks and things in it that really make you gasp in places, like different things that happen. And it was one of those, when you just race through a book and you're trying to slow yourself down because you don't want it to be over, but you can't. You just race through it. Brilliant, brilliant book. And we love Sheila as well. Sheila's fab.
Yeah, and did our first author chat special, didn't she, last night?
She did.
To give away when we're recording this.
And coincidentally, I am 3/4 of the way through We Begin at the End because of last night's interview. So, tells you that it does get you into it. Because I thought I had to read the book so I could ask some intelligent questions when it came to the interview. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
definitely worth the read.
Don't ask intelligent questions.
You do. Sheila's interview last night with Chris actually made me want to go back and read more by both authors. Yeah. Or read. I haven't read Chris yet, but it was such a good interview. My number 7 is The Curator, unsurprisingly, by Mr. Craven, who's UK CBC Author of the Year.
Yeah. How many Cravens have you read this year, Kaz? Is it more than one?
I have only read The Curator this year, and some of his book of short stories as well, actually, that he released.
Yeah. Was he on one of your earlier lists for the previous years, or is he new to you, or is it a popular thing?
No, I think Mike Craven, like my book at number 3, is someone who, if they have a book out, often is on my top 10 list.
Fair enough. I'm going to definitely have to give Tilly and Poe a go then.
Tilly and Poe are they are like the perfect team, and they're really likable characters, and they are so good, so funny as well. As like so much humor in the book, even though there's like really dark moments. They're so well written. Yeah, exactly. Like you expect humor from Mike, don't you?
To my shame, because we've had such a tight schedule with our reading for our author chats. So I am raring to go at these books that I've heard so much about.
Yeah, I think before too long, Mark Craven will have been interviewed by everybody in this panel. Because he's got a big reputation within the group, and won the book of the year, voted for by the group as well. So
he did, and was on my dad's top 10 list too. It's one of the few correspondences I have with my dad's top 10. Because although we are related, we have very, very different top 10 lists. I think we coincide with two.
Well, two's good, considering that me and Sam haven't got anything in common with yours. I mean, that's really amazing, considering we've got 30 different books in the top 10.
True, although also me and my dad, like, there are books on my list that he's not read. He just wouldn't read or didn't like. So
yeah,
interesting to see that we've got quite different tastes. And again, yeah, The Curator would have been on my list without the interviews, I'm going to be honest. But I'm delighted that I got to interview Mike this year.
Yeah, he's definitely, yeah.
And you both had Kia, didn't you? Who was on
yeah,
Kia's really good.
She talks
definitely very nice. Yeah, I really enjoyed talking to her, and she really does empathise for the character she's written as well.
Yeah, Take It Back was an amazing choice. And Sheila is just, we need Sheila on regularly, don't we?
Oh, I need more of that woman in my life.
Yeah, she's fantastic. And she does so much to help other authors as well, which is really nice.
Yeah, she really is.
Right, so shall we go to number 6 for everyone? Because there's some interesting ones at number 6. Alex, what's your number 6?
I think I'm going to say that this was a real problem to decide which book by this author, because I've read 2 books by her this year, because the interviews allow me to do something different with the way I used to read, because I was only able to read 1 book by an author, but because I'm interviewing them live now, I feel that I have to know more about their back catalogue. So I've been able to read more from the list, but this one was a second book. I'm trying to remember the name of the flipping book now.
What You Pay For.
What You Pay For by Claire Askew, yeah. This book was similar to number 10, as it involves gangs as well. And this is the only 2 books in the list which have similar themes, but it was higher because of the development of the characters in the series and how I really felt it really went together well with the other 2 books. I must admit, when I read Gallow's Lane, I had no idea that it was number 3 in that series. I thought it was the first one, but with What You Pay For, you really do need to read the others in the series before you read that. So my recommendation is, when you go to Claire Askew, just be careful which one you pick up first.
Good recommendation. Sam, your number 6?
Duncan Brockwell, No Way Out. Right, so DC Brockwell. Brilliant. Different, creepy, gruesome, fantastically over the top in parts. What a book. Honestly, what a book.
And I think for you, recommending something, because you're not very into very gruesome books, so it's like you having something quite gruesome on is a bit like me with Little Miss Evil by Jim Odie. I'm not a big gruesome kind of read, so it must have been really good to have made.
So good. Like, wickedly good. You know, it was just one of those that if you're going to go off the deep end, this is the book to go off with. It's so good. And it's funny and creepy, and the characters are brilliant. And when I interviewed him actually the other day, I said to him, you really didn't hold back. And he said, oh, I did. I was like, oh, you held back. It's so good. So I can feel myself getting excited by different things. It's proper weird, creepy, gruesome. Oh, so good.
So go on, Sam, give us a gore number. How gory was it?
Oh, it's got to be a 4 or a 5, easily.
Really?
of 5, yeah. It could. There are scenes in that, and then I got really excited because I knew. I won't name the next one, but I knew that there was a title of the second book, and so I picked up on who the second book was going to be about, and oh, she is good. So I'll leave it at that. But oh no, I have to tell you, it's Bird of Prey, the second one, and a character called Kara. But oh wow, I mean, you wouldn't want to be friends with her. You know, she's the kind of person you'd see on the news, and you'd be like, wow. But
so it's one of those that you'd say that you have to read in the daytime.
Oh God, yeah, I'm such a wuss. Yeah. Don't sit in a dark room and read it on your own if you're a scaredy cat like me. You will not sleep.
Right, so it's not a late night audio recommendation then.
Possibly not. But the thing is, it's that good though that I think I did actually sit in the dark on my own reading because I just didn't put it down. It was really good. Really quite sick, and I loved it.
My number 6, I think, follows very similarly along those lines and sort of wins out because the author of my number 6 is such a nice person. Like, they're so sweet and so lovely and just so excited and nice about everything. And then they've written the creepiest book. Like, I think I've read in a while, and I don't know how they've done it when they're so nice. I think that's also why they're on the list, because it's such a difference in the thing. Like, you see the author and you know the author and they're really nice, and then you read the book and you're like, how did someone that nice write this book? So my number 6 is Mother Loves Me by Abby Davis.
Oh, I've got that to read. I haven't read it yet, but I know you've raved about it.
I know, and you've got it to read because I was like, this is so good, I'm going to send it to everybody. I'm like, you need to read this. It's brilliant. And it's just, I don't know how to. It starts with, there's a character called Mother in it. Mother Loves Me. And basically, there's a young girl called Clarabelle. And it starts with Mother sort of makes her up in the morning and dresses her in clothes that make her look like a doll. And then one day Mother brings her home a present, and it's another child.
Oh, that sounds intriguing.
It is, and it is. Like, it's creepy. It's gross in points. Like, it's dark. It's there's a very small cast of characters, and they're all very believable and very good. And it's phenomenal. Like, it's one of those books that you're going to read and you'll buy copies for everybody that you know and be like, you need to read this book.
So when you guys are reading, do you think a small cast of characters is what you look for, or a big one?
I think it
both can work in different ways.
Yeah, I think this book is so, it wouldn't work with a big cast of characters because of what the story is about, and I don't want to give away too much about the story. Like, because of what the story is about, it needs to be a really tiny cast of characters. Yeah, and then those characters, like, are so well written and so well done that it carries the story. It's like, imagine it draws good comparisons with things like Room by Emma Donoghue,
which is on the shelf behind me.
Yeah, and that's carried by a very small cast of characters, isn't it? And is like, it's an amazing read. An amazing read. From here on, I found these really easy to put in order because they were like so good.
That's ironic because by the time I got to the top 5, that was the hardest one.
Do you think so? I thought from 6 upwards were like ones that once I'd read them, I knew weren't going to not be on the list.
It's because number 4 was the last minute entry, and it's like it knocked others down because I realized when, because it was involving more than one, it knocked others down because I realized that I'd not included it, and I thought, why have I not included that? How many times when you were compiling the list did that happen?
I just wrote mine. It was, and then afterwards there were books that I thought I really want to put that book in the top 10, and there is nothing that I can remove from the first 10 that I initially just flew out of my head. There's nothing that I could change.
Mine only happened with the bottom ones, but there are like several books, and there are books that I know that when I went back through and sort of recombed my Goodreads, like when I reviewed them, I was like, this is going to be on my top 10, and isn't. It's just in the honourable mentions, and it is just purely because things like Mother Loves Me came along right at the end of the year.
Yeah.
As a read, and just took me by, like, you know, there's no way that they couldn't be there.